Hi, I'm Elaine. Welcome to my podcast channel.
Okay. Hi, Daniel. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So would you like to introduce your institution? What are you studying right now? And
Yeah, I'm a first-year student at MIT, and I plan to study math.
that's really interesting. What kind of math are you planning to study?
I don't know. Well, the degree is called probably that I'll try to get is probably called pure mathematics, but probably more on the algebra side of that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds really interesting. Okay, so I would really like to know about your childhood. So what sparked your mathematical interest? How did you um, get interested in math in general? So what made you interested?
Yeah, so both my parents are professional mathematicians, so I don't know, it just seemed natural. They would talk about math, but it wasn't like, forced onto me or anything like that. It was just like, um, it was just something that
Mhm.
it just felt very organic that I developed an interest for math. I mean, obviously it was related to my parents being mathematicians, but it did feel like I sort of discovered it to some extent on my own. So yeah, and but it was pretty early on, I would say. I mean, I would say I only got sort of more serious into math a few years ago, but
Mhm.
ever since I was like a pretty small kid, I was definitely like, math was always my favorite subject at school or whatever.
Yeah. So in your family, do you discuss math every single day? Like, is that normally the topic?
No, I mean, usually, we just talk about, I mean, we're like a regular family. But I mean, occasionally, um, you know, I don't know, occasionally one of my parents will have something that they think might be interesting for me to hear or something like that. But it's not like a big thing.
Yeah. So how did the pandemic affect your studies?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was a hard time for everybody. I was pretty lucky. My parents were college teachers. They were able to teach online, so sort of we were able to stay safe. In some sense, having all that extra time probably did help, but at the same time, it was the stress of everything that was going on did make it harder as well. So it was definitely a bit rough, but yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because for a lot of schools here in Canada, the schools basically closed down because of COVID. So did that happen at the same time? I mean, did that also happen for in the US or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was a senior in high school. Well, no. Uh, I guess at that point I was a junior in high school. But fortunately, I had taken a lot of the courses I had to take to graduate, so I only had a few courses left, um, and I was able to take those online. And of course, it was pretty disruptive, but for me, that aspect of it was not the worst.
Mhm. Yeah. So in high school, so of course you love math. Which course was your least favorite?
Least favorite. Yeah, probably English. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
enough said, I guess.
I mean, it's totally different from math. I think that's why
Yeah,
it's.
I mean, it's totally different from math. It really, yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's writing essays is not. it's not something that I am any good at. So
Yeah, but
it was
I
a
guess if you're
struggle.
gonna write a research paper, then you still have to write an essay. So
I mean, it's the standards are very, very different. So yeah.
okay. Yeah, so I mean, essays for me are really, really hard too, so I can totally understand. Um, yeah, interesting. So I mean, of course, you're now in college, but I was wondering in high school, were you able to discuss mathematical ideas with your peers, or were because a lot of people don't like math. Same for me around people around me, they don't really like math. So did you have an opportunity to talk to your peers or your friends about what you're doing?
Yeah, to some extent, I would say. There was a math club in the town that I grew up in,
Yeah.
and so there, I mean, there definitely were people who were interested in math and who wanted to talk about it. It maybe not like you had to go out of your way to find them. Like it's not like you know like my friends at school were not particularly into math, but there were people in my town that were interested in math, and I was to some extent able to talk math with them. But I guess I would say that I probably a bigger influence on me was talking math with my parents and my sister, who is I
Mhm.
have an older sister. She's also
Oh,
um, uh, into math. So,
mhm.
like I said before, it's not like I, was solely talking math to my family or anything like that. But I did, obviously you see a lot more of your family than, you know, like, the math club was like 1 hour a week. So it just wasn't as much time, I guess. So, yeah.
Mhm. So are you better than your sister
Oh, no.
related to math?
I mean, first of all, like, I don't think that there's like a sense in which like you can compare people exactly in math. But I
Mhm.
mean she's older than me, so she obviously knows a lot more than me.
Yeah. So it's so a lot of conversation happens between you and your parents and then your family members and
I
then
mean, it's like on the grid, like compared to everything else we talk about, it's a small fraction of our conversation, but it adds up. So I guess I would say it's quite a lot over all the years.
so do you do anything else than math? Like hiking or anything else?
Um, I really like listening to music. I like playing soccer,
Yeah.
um, chess. Those are sort of my main hobbies.
Yeah, what kind of music do you like listening to?
Classical mostly.
So Mozart or
I mean Mozart, Beethoven, Bach.
yeah, is it because there's this mathematical rhythm inside or whatever?
I don't know. I there might be some deep reason, but I don't know. I just listen to it because it makes me happy.
Okay. So do you listen to music while studying or you don't think that's a really good thing to do?
Um, I do it. I don't know if I do think it can be a bit distracting sometimes, but I definitely do it.
Mhm. Yeah, so I know that there's a lot of connections between chess and math. So do you incorporate your mathematical? So there's a lot of tactics and skills involved in chess. What's the connection between chess and math, do you think?
I think they're both like extremely logical. Like chess really is like well, I wouldn't say solely. I mean, chess is definitely has like a very creative side in terms of like strategy and stuff like that. Um, I mean, there also is like the tactical side, which is sort of more brute calculation. But actually, I mean, that sort of does resemble math, where like to some extent there's like obviously a lot of calculations and stuff like that, but it is also like very creative. So yeah, I guess there is some similarity there. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. So it's like soccer, music, and chess. That's really a lot to do because I've heard that a lot of mathematicians and then their hobbies are hiking, so something different. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, who's your favorite mathematician?
Uh, well, Terry Tao is sort of this giant, and I mean, in all of math, but he particularly specializes in analytic number theory, which is probably the branch that interests me the most. So, yeah, I would say probably Terry Tao is sort of my inspiration or my role model or something like that.
Do you know him personally, or you
No,
just
I've never met him, but yeah.
yeah? So you envision knowing him one day in the future or something like
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else, or he's the only one that you're super idolized? This person.
So okay, so there's another person in analytic number theory who actually just won the Fields Medal, which is like the math. Yeah. So James Maynard is his name. Uh, and it was actually really cool. I got to use some of the techniques that he pioneered in resolving this problem about Carmichael numbers. And I actually sort of got interested. It's a long story, but I sort of did get interested in Carmichael numbers because I started reading about the work that Maynard had done, specifically about gaps between primes. And so, yeah, so it was, I don't know, it was just really cool to be able to use that work in resolving this problem, which, there is a connection, but it's not immediately obvious. So anytime you can sort of connect two areas of math is really cool.
So which two areas do you mean of math?
Yeah, so I guess like studying what you might call prime constellations, which are like patterns in primes. So like twin primes, for example, which are primes that are two apart. And then the other branch would be, and not branch, I mean like they're both topics in analytic number theory. But yeah. And then the other one being sort of the study of Carmichael numbers.
So I noticed that you're really, really ahead in math compared to people around your age. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean at MIT, you have people sort of at all stages, and there are people ahead of me, there are people behind me. But I just I don't know, it's really I feel like some people have like the idea that MIT is like a really competitive place, and like
Yeah.
it's not entirely false, but like I do feel like and like the math department is nice because it doesn't feel like it doesn't really feel like a competition. It feels like everybody is sort of on their own journey, I guess you could say, with math, and there we're all at different places with it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So do you go partying or you just do math all day? Because there's this balance between socializing and academics.
Yeah, I'm probably more on the math all day side. Not
Okay.
that that exactly covers it, but yeah, there is a bit of a spectrum, and I'm probably uh, more on the math all day side of it.